Hello year 2, welcome back. So for this week's science, we're going to be doing some experiments. We can't do any experiments until we get ready in our science gear. So this isn't science gear. Let's try again. I'm not up north anymore. This is getting ridiculous. Amazing, a science lab coat. But wait, I need my glasses, my safety glasses. Much better. Right. Now we can get on. For science this week, we're going to be looking at, can I investigate bacteria? In today's lesson, we're going to be carrying out an investigation looking into the invisible living thing. So talk to your teddy. What is bacteria? Okay, so once you've had that discussion, you may have come up with some ideas of it's maybe something to do with germs, maybe something to do with it's alive.
Okay, so I'm really sorry, but the audio, which means my voice, got cut out here. So all I'm saying is, there's a video to watch. It's called Good Germs versus Bad Germs, and it's going to be in the playlist after this video. So you can go straight onto that video, and then you can come back to this video. So once you've watched that, let's move on. So, we found out that bacteria is all around us. There's nothing we can do, it's always going to be there. The next thing is it's invisible for us to see without a microscope. Now I'm going to explain a microscope now.
Things where you look down into a small plate and as you're looking at it, it makes things bigger. So these bacteria are so microscopic, you can't see them. But if you use a microscope and you look down on top of them, you can see them. Now there are some good and there are some bad bacteria. That's what we found out from that video. And we also found out by washing our hands with soap and warm water, we can remove bacteria from our hands. But my question to you is, what happens when we don't wash our hands and clean ourselves? What happens to that bacteria? Well, I'd like us to find out. So, in order for our experiment to work, to explore bacteria, we're going to need to create a perfect place for bacteria to grow. Now, that's usually somewhere warm and somewhere dark. Now, we also need something for the bacteria to grow on. We can't just have somewhere warm and dark and bacteria would then start growing so that we can see it. We need it to grow on something that's allowing it to be able to, for us to see it. This picture here is a Petri dish. My turn, your turn. Petri dish. Petri dish. Now, this small plastic dish has agar in it. My turn, your turn. Agar. Agar. Now, agar is like a jelly, but it sets and it's a little bit squidgy. And when it's set, like this picture here, looks like a bit of a yellow surface in this plastic ring. And what you can do is you can put things on it where you rub on bacteria and this bacteria starts to grow so that you can see it. Now we're going to explore that. So for this experiment, I'm going to need a Petri dish filled with agar. I'm going to need a few cotton buds, and I'm going to need some things where I'm going to collect my bacteria from. I'm going to use a phone, I'm going to use a keyboard, and I'm going to use a TV remote and a door handle. Now I'm going to use that door handle there because that door handle is the one that I use every day coming in and out to make my videos. So I'm going to see how much bacteria might be sitting on that door handle. So to show how bacteria is around us and understand how important it is to be clean, we're going to be investigating it. So let's investigate together. Let me show you our equipment and what we're going to be working with. Right, welcome back. So what we've got here is I've got my experiment set up, ready to go. Now, as you can see, in each one of these, there is some liquid. Now, it's really difficult for me to see, and I'm not allowed to take the lid off yet, but can you see that yellow jelly-looking thing in between? Well, it's got a lid on top here, and it's got a bit of condensation, which is a little bit of water droplets on the top. That doesn't matter. And then at the bottom here, I've got my jelly. Now, you can only see it when I hold it side on because it is so clear, you can't really see inside. So, I've got lots here. I've actually got one or two more down here. So we've got all of our agar plates. Now that's that key vocabulary. Agar plate. Agar plate. And that's on the Petri dish. Petri dish. Now, I've got my safety goggles on because I'm going to be working with some bacteria. I don't want it to go anywhere near my eyes. Now, what I've also got is some cotton buds. Now, I'm making sure I'm very careful to not touch the end of them because I will have bacteria on my fingers. And if I put my fingers on the end and then put it on the dish, I'm not going to get a good result. I've also then got a box, which they're going to go inside this box. I'm going to close it up and then I'm going to put it in a warm place. And because the box is closed, it's going to be dark. The next thing I've also got, which I didn't mention in our test, I've also got some sellotape. Now, the reason you've got sellotape is because you don't want any more bacteria getting in. So I'm going to tape around the outside of the plate so that the lid can't come off. Because once I start growing things inside, I do not want to be able for them to get out because they're not going to be very good bacteria. I want to make sure that they stay in that plate. Okay. So now what I need to do is I need to collect some of my resources so that I can do a swab to collect that bacteria. So the first one that I'm going to do is I'm going to do a phone. Okay, so here's a phone. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to do one swipe. I'm going to get it in the corners. Now remember, this phone is something that someone would hold, someone will put up to their ear, and someone will touch. So I'm going to get lots of good readings, lots of rubbings from my cotton bud. Okay, so let's do that now. So if I get my cotton bud, what I'm going to do is I'm going to just rub round on the thumbprint mark. I'm going to rub round on the back as well. That's hopefully going to give me some really good readings of where somebody's been holding this phone. Okay, so I've got lots of bacteria now that's on that. Now this is on here. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to move these plates out of the way just for a minute. I'm going to have just one plate, which is here. I'm going to take the lid off and I'm going to just carefully rub up and down. So I'm going to take the lid off quite quickly because I'm not allowed to leave it open for too long. And I'm just going to really, really gently rub across in a zigzag motion. Now I'm being really careful because I don't want to break the jelly. Because if you break the jelly, it does not work. So be really, really careful to not break the jelly. And as you can see, I've done it in like a z, because that way, if I don't do it in a z, then I can't see what has been touched and what's not. Right, boom, lid back on. This is going to go in the bin because I don't want this to go anywhere near me. So it's in the bin, it's gone. This is our one plate now. Now my one plate, I'm then going to get some sellotape, wrap it round that plate because I do not want anything getting in or out of that plate because that's then going to ruin my experiment. I have to make sure it is a fair test. So got some of my sellotape here. I'm then going to very carefully pick up my agar plate and seal it. Hold on, let me get you in a good view. Seal it with my sellotape. That way, nothing is getting in and out of that sellotape into that plate. And there we go. That is one part of my experiment completely done. Now, the only way that I can tell of what this is I'm going to get a whiteboard marker. So here's one here. And I'm going to write on the back, so I know which one it is. I'm going to write on the back, phone. That way I know that phone, this was the rubbing of phone. And I'm going to just keep that there, right? That's now ready to go in that box. So I'm going to put that in the box now so I don't forget. There we go. So there's my phone. So I'm now going to close that box and keep it dark. Now I'm going to get the next one. So my next one is going to be, what did I say? Remote control. So I've got a remote control here. Here we go. Here's a remote control. Just like for a TV that you might have at home, maybe. Now, here's my next cotton bud, making sure I don't touch the end. I'm going to rub this in between all of those buttons. Maybe that volume button as well. There it is. There's the volume button, because that one is the one that I reckon people use the most. So I'm going to be rubbing all over those numbers. Maybe the off button as well. That one's probably one that gets a lot of use. Now remember, the reason I'm doing this is because right now there's bacteria that I think is sitting on this. And if I get a good enough swab of bacteria, I'm going to be able to see what that bacteria looks like if we're not washing our hands after we've touched it. So then I'm going to just very carefully, in a motion, rub all along this. Now I know it's really tough for you to see on this camera, much better than the other camera I was using before, but this camera, it's obviously a little bit tough to see. So if I just, there we go, perfect. Now again, this straight in the bin. Don't want that bacteria anywhere near me. Next thing, sellotape around my plate so that I make sure that nothing is going in or out of this plate. All the way around that side. There we go. Then, after it's glued down, that's done. Perfect. I'm now going to write on the bottom, TV remote, because that was the TV remote, wasn't it? Right. Do you know where that's going? It's going in the box. So open up. Now, it doesn't matter that they're going to be sat next to each other, because I've sealed them up now, so there's nothing that can get in or out of that. Okay, we then said door handle, didn't we? And we also said, oh, there was one more. Door handle. I'm going to do that one first, because that's the one I can remember. Here's my swab. Let's go. So I'm going to be back here. Now, what I'm making sure is that I get a good reading. I want to make sure that I do not miss anything. So I'm going all around that door handle. Right. Got it. Let's get our next agar plate. Open the Petri dish. Gently rub across on the agar. Now, can anyone remember why I said gently rub across? Talk to your teddy. What do you remember about gently rubbing across the agar? Can you remember? If you said something like you don't want to break the jelly because it doesn't work, then that's a spot on answer. Great job. Right, where's it going? In the bin. Amazing. Then let's get our next one. Oh, that didn't work very well, did it? Uh-oh. Right, and then I'm going to tape this up again. I want to make sure that I'm definitely not going to let anything get in or out. As I say, bacteria, there are good and bad bacteria, and some bacteria can be a little bit dangerous. So we want to make sure that nothing is coming out of these Petri dishes. Right, there's my good enough swab and sellotape. So there we go, sticking it down, making sure that it's tight. It's not going to come off that lid. I do not want anything happening to this Petri dish. There, right, we're on. Then turn it over. On the bottom, we're writing down door handle. Just write door. Door, I can fit in handle. Handle. There we go, door handle. Where's it going next? In the box. So let's get it ready. In the box. Bye-bye. Rightio. Then we've got one more to do. And I hope you can remember what the last one was, because I have actually forgotten. A keyboard. Well done. So what I'm going to do for my keyboard is I'm going to try and just move this camera quickly so that you can see. So if I shuffle you over here, here is my keyboard. Right. So as you can see, there are some dust and everything on there. So what I'm going to do is, if I can just focus you in a little bit more. Perfect. There's my cotton bud. I'm going to just rub in between and on top of those letters. I reckon that space bar gets used a lot. I'm guessing that this will get used loads. So I'm going to rub that all on there. What else might get used? Some of these numbers at the top. Maybe the backspace here. The backspace and the enter. Right. I've got such a good rubbing now of where of the different parts of my keyboard. So now I'm going to put it on my agar player. So you've got a bit of a closer view there. Lid off in a zigzag fashion. I'm going to go back over that, just twisting it very carefully. Right, perfect. Now this bin, next one, sellotape. Done. Then what I am going to do, and I'm not going to show you me doing this, but I'm also going to now take another cotton bud, and I'm going to do exactly the same things again. But what I'm going to do first is I'm going to clean every single item that I did. So first thing, this was the keyboard. Then box. Dark box, warm place. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to get the cotton buds again, but every single one of the items that I did a swab of and the keyboard, I'm going to get an antibacterial wipe and I'm going to wipe them all down. And I'm going to see what a difference it makes after I've wiped it down with an antibacterial wipe. Now remember, an antibacterial wipe for things like keyboards and door handles and my phone and the remote control, they're as if we're washing our hands. So I want to see what it looks like before we've cleaned something and after we've cleaned something. Your challenge for me is I would like you to record yourself and put it onto Tapestry and say, I think that this will be the dirtiest or will be have the most bacteria on it because. So that's your STEM sentence. I think this will have the most bacteria on it because. I look forward to seeing your submissions on Tapestry, and in the next science lesson, whilst I've left these over a few days, we're going to be seeing exactly how much bacteria is on things around our house. Thank you for coming to this science lesson. I hope you had fun. I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.